Hello, all you spry tubers, twitchers, and pod people out there. Welcome to the Could You Do It Better podcast. We're director, artist, and behind-the-scenes awesomeness known as Sesh, and the writing and directing sensation known as Maria. Discuss popular television shows and movies and answer the always controversial question of, could you do it better? Today, we will be discussing Season 1, Episode 8, the Season 1 finale of Lauren Schmidt Hissrich's The Witcher television series based upon Andrzej Sapkowski's The Witcher novel. And as for me, I'm Jonathan the Intern, and unlike our two experts, have no industry experience whatsoever. In other words, I'm much like the Brotherhood's mages. My idea of preparation for the big show is looking at pretty rocks and jars. My defenses are easily blown to pieces by children, and by the end of the show, I'll be begging for help only to have my head bashed in by a colleague. And now, to Sesh and Maria. Woo!
Woohoo! That's great.
Yeah, Season 1 finale. That's exciting.
It's good
I
stuff.
know.
Yeah.
All right, so spoiler warning, of course. In this episode, we will be doing a detailed recap of Season 1, Episode 8. That's the finale of the Witcher TV series that will contain spoilers throughout. So, if you haven't watched the Season 1 finale and don't want to hear spoilers before you do, please feel free to put us on mute as you watch the episode, then re-watch our show afterwards, because that's how you double those view counts. And now, on to the recap, as mandated by our legal department. This episode begins where the previous episode left off, as Geralt leaves the Burnation of Sintra to attempt to find Ciri. He arrives at the refugee camp Ciri was at previously this season that was raided by Nilfgaard. Geralt's spidey senses are tingling with the smell of rotting dead and the buzzing of flies, but instead of getting out of there, he goes the stereotypical horror movie sorority girl approach of walking towards the strange sounds to investigate and is immediately swarmed by scavenging ghouls. Geralt defeats them and protects a local crypt keeper, but is bitten and falls unconscious, while Roach, with his convenient plot armor, stands and watches with a disapproving, you're an idiot look of consternation that only a horse can convey. Meanwhile, in the future, Ciri wakes up in a circle of death in the swampland to find that the boys who tried to assault her are impaled on the nearby trees, bodies broken, and her horse dead on the ground. She's found by the horse's owner, who seems oddly overly comforting towards Ciri, considering Ciri did just steal her now dead horse, and she's surrounded by a bunch of savagely killed children. Over to the good ship Lollipop, where Yennefer and about 60 mages dressed in the least combat-ready attire you can conceive of arrive at Sodden Hill to fight the oncoming Nilfgaardian army by keeping them from crossing the narrow bridge leading to the north of the continent. Oddly, Yennefer has magically become an expert on Nilfgaard, apparently because of her 5-minute meeting with Istrid, of which 4 minutes of that was her trying to win back an ex. Vilgefortz's military strategy is to protect this highly defendable geographic choke point. Okay, that seems to have a lot of merit. Now let's see the preparation his military mind conjures up. They start with enchanting about 30 bottles worth of rocks. And they're done. Wait, what? That's it? I prepare more just to get out of bed in the morning. Anyways, time for the after party. Yennefer tells Tissaia that she's ready for death. She has no family or legacy and nothing left to live for. Tissaia tells her that's not true, then walks away as fast as possible because nobody likes a buzzkill at a party. We now cut to the Nilfgaardian tents, where there's some dissension in the ranks. One of the lieutenants to the Nilfgaardian Knight advises him to wait for refortification of the troops prior to attacking, after hearing of the news of mage reinforcement. Fringilla, however, says those mages will only use controlled magic, while she uses the far more powerful banned and taboo magic, and as such, she'll destroy all those mages herself, as nothing should stop them from capturing Ciri in honor of the White Flame. Cahir agrees with Fringilla, and the war is on. Yennefer awakens to see a fireball hurtling towards her camp and deflects it just in time. We see the source of these fireballs as Fringilla commands a mage to create another one, which entails that mage imbuing their entire life essence into it, turning their body into a pile of ash, as Fringilla trebuchets it away, only for it to be redirected again. Man, that just sucks. Fringilla now goes to plan B of summoning a box in an attempt to draw the mages out, as nobody can resist the delivery from Amazon. We now go to the aftermath of the 2 fireball attacks that did no damage whatsoever to find that 38 or so mages ran off because they liked the idea of war a lot more when they were at their kitchen table typing on their keyboards. Fringilla, readying for the next round of combat, casts Fog Cloud at 5th level and Flight on her mage lieutenant. Meanwhile, Geralt finds himself in serious distress, though still somewhat alive, on the back of a cart driven by the Gravekeeper he saved earlier this episode. Geralt is hallucinating that he's at a feast prepared by his mother while he pretends to be a knight fighting a dragon. Interestingly, Borch makes an appearance in the dream, telling Geralt that what he's seeing isn't real. Back to the battle, though, and the Brotherhood and Academy's mages are formidable. Triss casts a field of poison gas-emitting mushrooms. Another mage executes a flawless Vader chokehold, and those enchanted bottles with rockets in them do some shrapnel damage at range, each inflicting moderate casualties. Vilgefortz then sneaks behind enemy lines to try assassinating the Nilfgaardian Knight, where he unleashes his unique mage ability of, this has to be sweet for a battle mage, Returning Dagger? And that's it. Wow. Oh, okay. That's certainly a choice for hand-to-hand combat. All right, well, maybe he'll do a cool trick, like tossing the dagger behind the knight, then returning it to his hand mid-combat to sneakily stab him in the side and win the battle. Oh no, he just uses that ability twice, then gets kicked down the side of the mountain, smacking his head on the rocks. Huh. Wow. Yeah, he's worthless. Meanwhile, Fringilla opens a portal to the courtyard of the castle and has her team of archers fire arrows through it, effectively mowing down multiple mages inside the gates. You taking notes, Vilgefortz? Tisea takes a break from supervising the war to teleporting to Fringilla to, talk to her? Attempting to convince her to stop by saying she can come back to the academy? What in the... Man, Fringilla doesn't even need dark forbidden magic with the amount of stupid pills the other mages took today. And with that, Fringilla rightly puts Tisea in a magically induced coma. As well, the box Fringilla summoned has made it through the castle gates, and it contains oily black worms that will be found in a few millennia later by Mulder and Scully. Back to Geralt, who is having another dream sequence. It appears Geralt's mother was a sorceress, and he had a fairly privileged upbringing until one day she abandoned him to a witcher named Vesemir. All right, well, now back to the battle. It's quickly becoming a rout as mage after mage is being slashed down. And considering only 22 decided to fight in this battle, that's not good. Triss casts entangling vines to momentarily keep the Nilfgaardian army from breaching the front gate. I say momentarily because a Nilfgaard soldier lighting the vines and her on fire with a torch is highly effective. You know what else is highly effective? Those black parasitic worms. Winds up that upon entering a host body, they mind control the host. This leads to child sleeper agents taking the Vilgefortz enchanted rock bottles and dropping them to create massive explosions inside the castle, as well as sleeper Sabrina walking up to Yennefer and stabbing her in the womb she no longer has.
Oh.
The tower, yeah, good, it's no longer in her,
Lucky.
Cause damage. Woo. The tower Yennefer is standing in then explodes, and Yennefer and Sabrina are thrown to the ground. There are dead bodies and carnage everywhere as Yennefer stumbles towards the front gate to try finding Tisea, who's calling for help in her mind. Fringilla mind calls out to Yennefer, telling her to join her and Nilfgaard because there's no limits to their power there. Yeah, that's a much better sell than what Tisea offers. It's at this point Vilgefortz wakes up from his rock-induced coma to find a lot of dead Nilfgaardian bodies and a wounded ally Brotherhood mage asking for help. So Vilgefortz bashes his head in with a mace. This guy, man, he's even more worthless than an intern.
Definitely.
Meanwhile, Geralt wakes up briefly from his fever dreams of Renfri and Yennefer to find a sorceress healing him. But that voice, it's familiar. Wait, it's Geralt's mother? He wants to know why she gave him up for adoption at the age of 6 or so he could be a part of a bewitchification ritual that kills 7 out of 10 boys. She's like, yeah, I'd answer that if I was still your mother, but I'm not. So time to move on to your own destiny. Geralt then actually wakes up to find his mother coming back to reject him yet again was a dream.
Oh.
Par for the course.
Oh.
His new gravekeeper friend offers him the law of surprise for saving his life. Geralt is like, oh, no. I'm not going to be the victim of yet another paternity suit. Just get me a beer. Well, time to check in on the battle, and it's all but lost at this point. Yennefer follows the trail of torn apart mages to the dying Tissaia. Tissaia tells Yennefer this is her fight now, and her legacy will be to save the world. All she has to do is shatter her bottle of emotions and let chaos rain down on her enemies. Yennefer thanks Tissaia for saving her, then lets out a primal scream and unleashes a cone of flame at 7th level from her fingertips, charbroiling the last remnants of the surrounding forest and the Nilfgaardian army. Huh. You know, if only Tissaia would have allowed her to do that at the start of the battle, Well, battle over. Oh, look at that! The Riders of Rohan, led by King Foltest the Incestuous, father of Strigas, finally arrived from the north for reinforcements. Well, thanks for showing up a couple days late. I guess you can go home now. Over to Ciri in her new bed, getting tucked in by her new mommy, who apparently overlooked the horse thievery because she really wanted a daughter. Huh, okay then. Ciri goes to sleep, but is awoken by a dream of Geralt and Tissaia looking for Yennefer at Sodden Hill. Ciri runs to the woods in that direction just as a cart was pulling into the driveway. Why, it's the Gravekeeper and Geralt! Winds up the Gravekeeper is the woman's husband. After being told that an orphan girl was just there, Geralt runs to the woods as well on instinct. And the episode ends with Ciri and Geralt running into each other's arms in the forest, and Ciri asking, Yennefer? Who dat hoe?
I love the first thing she says to him. This episode is brought to you by buyabro.com. Do you lack the basic common sense to stay alive on a day-to-day basis? Well, at Buy a Bro, you can purchase your very own bro that will tell you in simple language that even you can understand what to avoid. So, when you are hanging out with dangerous flesh-eating monsters that kill with one bite and you don't know what to do, just take a look at your bro and he'll say, nah. If that mage wants to hang out has worms, just ask your bro, and he will make sure you get out of there before the check is served. That's buyabro.com, because you really do only live once. So try not dying today. Back to you, intern.
Thank you.
I like it. A new spin on things.
Yeah, that is that's a really interesting business there. That probably would have gotten me out of signing this contract to be on the show in the first place. It's amazing.
I think it's great. We might also have another spin of things since I have a noisy thing in the other room. Let's try this question, and then I'm gonna turn my camera off, and I'll be right back.
All right. So our first question of the evening is, this episode has been billed as the best episode of the season. Do you agree or disagree? Sesh, you want to get us started?
I'll get us started. I don't think it's the best, but I just want to say Yennefer. I know I said Geralt is my favorite character and best written last episode, but she has gone through such a phenomenal arc that by the end of this episode, I may have to change that tune. It felt like a disservice to call this show The Witcher by the end of it, and how compelling Yennefer's story has been. This really was a good episode, though. I really enjoyed the Ciri parts, finally, and it didn't feel wrong to take things so much slower with Geralt when Yen's story was really the main plot here. Episode 1 is still my favorite, though. But thinking about where we started and where we are now with everyone, especially Yennefer, this episode is just it's still a big wow for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so cool. For me, I would say this episode is the deep dive the other episodes were preparing us for. So I wouldn't rank it as better, but just a really great part of the whole. I loved how the finale weaves the strong emotional arcs of the main characters into the larger battle setup. We get to watch Geralt and Yennefer battle their own demons while they must face the external battle in front of them. It's a beautiful episode. I personally like how even though both Yennefer and Geralt have lived quite a long time, it's not about their age that makes them mature, but rather facing their demons for a greater good. They both have a powerful awakening, and that will allow them to come more fully into themselves into the next season, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. It's very true. Your age does not tell you how mature you are at handling things. That is correct. And hearing both of what you said, I do feel bad now based off of your responses. But honestly, I actually felt this episode was pretty meh compared to the rest of the season.
Wow.
I know. Well, I do feel they did a good job of delving deeper into the emotional issues each of the main characters have and how it has developed their current psyche and persona. I felt the writing of this episode was just way too on the nose and unnatural at times, especially during the mage's refortification of Sodden Hill. There were several lines where random characters were basically saying, Nilfgaard is terrible, completely unprompted. Even the conversations brought up to unlock those hidden emotions, like the one between Tissaia and Yennefer, felt somewhat forced to me. It also didn't help that the actions of Tissaia during the battle felt out of character, and that Vilgefortz, who supposedly specializes in combat, was just a completely worthless character. Like, I can now understand why everybody made fun of him before. Ciri's foster mom also seemed to react really weirdly to a girl who stole her horse and was found unarmed in the middle of brutally murdered children.
Yeah.
I like the touching on Geralt's backstory and how that was handled, but I sort of wish his mom was actually there with him in the forest. In any case, this may seem harsh, but I'd actually put this episode in the bottom 3 episodes this season for that reason.
Wow. That's, it's harsh, but it's fair. It's fair.
I'm back and, I'm kind of agreeing with some of the things you're saying. I may have to rethink my numbering.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, I think in a lot of ways the whole episode felt very romantic to me. So I think it was a little, I don't know if that makes sense, but
this is what I had that other episode, the dragon episode.
Yeah.
So I was like, nope, I love it. I know I see the flaws, but I love it.
Pass, yes.
It's just one of those.
So our next question of the night is, if you were leading a group of powerful mages, how would you have approached fighting the Nilfgaardians? Sesh, you want to get us started again?
Yeah, I think here earplugs would have been great. Just earplugs. Especially since they have telepathy. They don't even have to hear each other yell. I would have tried to utilize other mages for plant abilities because Triss was nailing it for the most part. And if they had a couple more with her skills to make poison, gas mushrooms, and physical barriers, I bet there was a lot more up her sleeve that she simply didn't get the chance to do. Also, my main thing would have been portals. Offense, defense, crowd control, weapons, attack distribution, confusion, disorientation, rescues. There's a lot more they could have done thinking back on the battle. But despite me wanting more of that, I know, just because I do play video games, that all these magical things probably had some pretty harsh cooldowns to take into consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, rubbing rocks is that's a heck affair. Yeah. Oh man.
I mean, I would have cast some massive spell that has people sleep.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Ooh.
yeah, a nightmare spell on everybody. Have the whole army there think they're in the middle of a really long battle, and when they wake, they're actually they're actually asleep.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were really wanting to be cruel, I would make the spell allow them to wake up until they're about to die, basically.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Oh boy.
Oh, my.
I'm
This
not
got
saying
dark.
that right. I'm saying that right. Basically, like
Give them sleep paralysis?
yeah, like they slept so long they don't have enough food or water.
Oh.
And then they just
Wow.
yeah. So
Wow.
it's cold, but
So like muscle atrophy. Wow, that's a Woo.
You wouldn't
But
even
first-
try to kill them right there. You just
No,
let them
just let
just
them
stay
sleep.
before. Oh my gosh. Okay.
This is only unless animals find them first.
yeah.
Oh.
I don't stop the animals. I'm not that mean.
Amazing.
But first, I would also focus on all of the mages getting rid of Fringilla. Like she's the mastermind. She's the force behind this army. Why are they not focusing on like ganging up on her? I don't get that. She's got to go.
Wow.
Yeah.
That got dark in a hurry.
I mean, they're killing them anyway. You know.
True, I guess. Yeah. You might
This
as
is
well.
peaceful. This is peaceful.
Yeah, you might as well use their bodies as paperweights. You know,
They're just as effective.
yeah. Well, you know, the first thing that I would have done is just kill Vilgefortz because, man, was he a terrible general? I mean, my gosh, that guy needed to die immediately and have somebody with actual leadership capabilities take over.
Oh,
Like, I was watching him and I'm like, you know, I take back a lot of what I said about Rhaenyra, you know?
She's brilliant compared to him.
Yeah, holy cow, you know. But after finishing that order of business, I'd ask what type of battle and defense magic everyone is good at. Then spend the day preparing the battlefield, utilizing those skills. Like, for example, Triss was great at laying down a field of poison gas mushrooms and creating grasping vines. Yeah. Why not spend the day before the battle having Triss lay down fields of mushrooms so she can recover after each spell and cast it multiple times? Mm-hmm. That way, she's not doing it in the middle of battle, like where she's going to be exhausted. Yeah. You know? Yeah. Then have her do grasping vines on the sides of the bridge, where they'll grab any soldier coming across it and fling them the hell off into the river below.
I like that.
And, you know, if Vilgefortz is so good at enchanting rocks, why not put them in the forest ahead of time at strategic locations like mines so you can blow them up remotely? Or, you know, hide them at the entrance to that thin bridge that they have to come across.
Oh, yeah.
You know? Oh, yes. And if you have the ability to fire a 100-foot cone of flame, incinerating everything inside it, just teleport in and assassinate the Nilfgaardian Knight immediately. War over.
Yeah.
Here we go. Next question. In this episode, they explore Geralt's mother's betrayal and his anger over being given up before leading us to him finally uniting with Ciri and becoming a father type himself. Why do you think the writers chose to do this? Jonathan, you want to start?
Yeah, I think it did a really good job at mirroring Geralt and his mom. He has such a clear anger and hatred of her for giving him up, and yet he himself actively decided to do the same thing in giving Ciri up. Granted, he was about 6 years older. Hard to give a kid up for adoption at that age, but yeah. So the question is, why would he do that knowing how much pain and trauma it caused him? And the answer, I think, is exactly that. He wants to feel pain and trauma and anger because deep down, he hates himself.
Oh.
You could see he used to dream of being a brave knight rescuing princesses. And now he's just a reviled entity that kills things for coin. And similarly, it allows him and Ciri to marry each other as well, as she too had a privileged upbringing, only to wind up being an orphan, with dangerous magical powers who comes from a bloodline most people revile. The whole Geralt arc this episode felt purposeful and on point on multiple levels. So honestly, kudos to the writers there. I think that's why they did it and started with this.
Yeah, I agree. Those are really good points. I think it was a brilliant way to lead to Ciri. I think she's going to give him a lot of trouble, but this shows how deeply he needs to have loyalty in his life, and no matter how hard being Ciri's dad will end up being, he will staunchly be there for her. Almost dying was almost like his rebirth, watching him give up to see into his past so that he can find his future.
Yeah.
Oh, I really like that take. Yeah. I've had a theory about parenthood and those who question if they would be good at it, which is that no matter how good or poorly your parents raised you, as long as you want to do better than they did, then you'll probably be a good parent. So this theory of mine could be projected to the upbringing we're seeing from Geralt here. We see that it was so unloving that we can also understand even more why he's been hesitant, why he thinks having a kid isn't for him. But I got the sense that we got baby coughing here as I'm speaking. I get the sense with him that we're seeing things that he would just never do to his child surprise, and him realizing that he's ready to care for a child. I also think that it's just great writing. We get this little taste of his distant past, like, since we know that's going to come up more soon with him being a parent himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love watching how he's going to grow, and it's exciting. Our next question is, Yennefer also faces a leaving the nest kind of moment when Tissaia urges her to tap into her own power. She pulls from all the injustices in her life to channel her rage, but she disappears after. What do you think has happened to her?
I think magic comes at a cost. There's a balance to it. Can't make something from nothing. We saw what happened to the mages using themselves as fireballs, which I think was a little foreshadowing. It's particularly disheartening that Geralt and Ciri both heard or felt Yennefer, but not in the physical realm. And she might be with elements now. Something had to be given for what she did.
Yeah. I feel like Yennefer has finally become the chaos. I can't wait to see the force of nature she becomes now that she has let herself out of her cage. I think she'll come back. Definitely. I really have no idea where she's gone right now, but my best guess is she's trapped in the Witcher's medallion because he's still got a hold on her.
Aww.
She's got that's his wish probably keeps her in the real realm.
Yeah, that's
she can't leave.
That's an interesting point. Yeah. Ooh, I like that take.
Yeah, loophole.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. That's really good. It's interesting because you think you would need to learn fire magic first to be able to use it, especially if it's a banned form of magic, but maybe mages already have that innate ability inside of them. They're just told not to use it. It's pretty odd, in my opinion, that she's able to create such a destructive form of magic she's never tried before. It'd also be really odd if Tissaia knew giving into chaos would kill her if she was really trying to give Yennefer the crown as protector. What's even the purpose of that then? So anyways, I'm going with she's not dead. My gut feel is that unlike the fireballs where those mages imbued their own life essence to form them, Yennefer was merely releasing an abundance of energy. So she might be passed out from exhaustion, but I think she's okay, just, face down in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah, we'll see her. I'm not worried.
Maybe she's one of those scavenging ghouls.
Oh, you have to do lots of reviver from that one. Number 5, our next question is, it is interesting that they chose a couple who seem to do things out of the goodness of their heart that end up being the ones to bring Geralt and Ciri together. What message do you think the writers are trying to convey with that? I'll start. I think the purer your intentions are, the more you become a beacon for destiny to work through in this world. As both the husband and wife just care about others, apparently. I don't know.
Yeah.
It also came from the grain of goodness the Witcher had for saving the man's life. If he hadn't, he wouldn't have found Ciri and would have probably died in some other random, more meaningless way. The wife is interesting because she seems to ignore the danger signs, like you said, Ciri is given off. I mean, she's still a horse, and all the men that tried to attack her were gruesomely murdered. She just doesn't care. She takes her in anyway, no questions asked, because she wants a daughter that badly. I have to wait to see if there's more to her than that.
Yeah, it seemed that part seemed really, really, really odd to me. In terms of it, like that's why I originally thought, oh, she must be like some sorceress or Nilfgaardian spy or something,
Right.
because why behave like that? But to answer your question, much like Geralt's dream sequences and the Gravekeeper coming back to save him in return, in this episode, every single positive thing Geralt has done up to this point was rewarded. Had he let the Gravekeeper die, Geralt would have died from the ghouls. Had he not met and saved Borch and his child, Geralt would have fallen asleep to his dreams forever. Had he not listened to Yennefer and Renfri, he never would have fulfilled his destiny to get Ciri. So for one time in this series, good begets good. And while it could be destiny, it seems something definitely has to be pulling the strings here to align it that way. One thing I was even thinking a little earlier today is that he was also offered the law of surprise by the Graveskeeper today. And so that law of surprise would have been him returning home and they found Ciri.
That's wild.
Yeah.
It's just really, really, really interesting how they set it up. So I think that's the reason that they did it. But no, man, that couple's pure evil. I've seen this movie before. Yeah.
There's something funny going on with them. Look, I think they're just used to it. They're like, oh, you blew up some people, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think it's very. Oh, boy, you really hit the nail on the head. You said that so well. I do feel like there are good deeds and good people in this very harsh world. And doing good can, like you said, as a beacon, for good. My thing, what I said, which is doing good connects to other good deeds, but saying a beacon is so much more concise. There are definitely good deeds that people get punished for, and we have seen that, and that's left to be seen but as it is right now with these people, the small good deeds can really have meaningful ripple effects. Like, again, the writers have done, I think, a really great job of making us believe the situation that leads us to fate and lead us to this moment with Ciri and Geralt. Like, there are a million little steps that may lead to one big moment. And if those steps are good deeds, then maybe it'll lead to something good.
Yeah. I like that. All steps for the big finale. So our next question is, what do you suppose Fringilla is really after? What is making her fight so hard that she would resort to necromancy and sacrificing her own soldiers to win these battles?
She's in a cult. She has cast away her old beliefs, old connections, where she doesn't bat an eyelash at her own actions, and she considers it for the greater good. In her own twisted way, like people in cults act in nonsensical, cruel ways without remorse, and she is given into being all right with the bloodshed she sheds. That's a tongue twister. She sheds. In addition to being a sycophant helping her king and his nefarious goals that I have an idea of since I played the video games, but no spoilers, she is trying to prove she is more powerful than those at Aretusa. That all this ugliness is worth it because it's more powerful than their ways. And that would also fill her ego meter. Similar to the path we were watching with Yennefer, but Fringilla went full Sith instead of taking a step backward like Yennefer, who preferred her own independence.
Yeah. I mean, I think Fragilla has completely drank the Kool-Aid at this point. I feel she truly believes in this religious prophecy and that she has a key role in it. We know from school that she had a cruelty and carelessness about her, and she also has a chip on her shoulder from Yennefer stealing her position. So it makes sense that she would cling to this idea of becoming the powerful great mage with a prophecy she's a major part of. She doesn't care about the cost or who she's sacrificing for her greatness. And she's the real-life actualized version of what Yennefer supposedly wanted when she was younger, similar to what Sesh was saying. So unrivaled power, no rules, and the loyalty and admiration of all who follow her. Like, she basically is who Yennefer said she wanted to be. So it is that they did a really good job in conveying that and showing Yennefer's arc and showing who are you really, who do you really want to be.
Yeah, that is a really good point, because I wasn't on the Yennefer train in the beginning for that reason. Like, is she gonna be bad because this is what she's saying? And yeah, Angela, I feel like she wants to be better than everyone else. She probably always felt second fiddle to people like Yennefer, and she thinks this is the way to prove it, along with really believing her way is the right way, which, I mean, it's not like her school was super moral in the first place, so it's easy to get confused about who is right or who is wrong.
Yeah, that's not what they were treating.
Yeah, she sought to say it snatched souls to fuel their school. How is what she's doing any different? I mean, her moral compass is broken. If she didn't feel so inferior, I think she wouldn't be so hell-bent on her mission, though.
Yeah, basically, for day of class, she gets her arm like withered because to say the rules of magic.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't
not cool.
That doesn't give you a pleasant view of the school you're going to.
She passed it on, you just pass it on. It's supposed to be positive things, but
All right, so now we're at the ratings and would you continue watching section, because are we going to see season 2 of The Witcher?
Oh, good question.
For me, this episode was wonderful. It went exactly where it should have gone, in my opinion, for the build-up it had, at least character-wise, between the mains. The show teased us with these intriguing and mysterious characters and then took us deep into their psyches to wake them up and expose their true destiny and power. The themes the show has played with all the season. I can't wait for next season. I also love how deeply linked Ciri, Geralt, and Yennefer feel, and it's been enhanced by Ciri's dream of them searching for Yennefer. I like that connection, like all three of them now are in this. That each of these characters face significant internal changes at the same time just feels so powerful and, like I said, romantic in a way. Their destinies are to change together. Oh, I want more. I want more.
Yeah.
So well said. Yes. Agree.
Need to get out the hose again.
Oh gosh, I don't know what number I would give it. I'm gonna stick with my 8. Like, again, this episode in particular was all about Yennefer. And yeah, there's a lot of flaws in some of like the battle plans and these little tiny moments, but I feel like the good is just so good I can overlook that. It's like a solid 8. Like any little details, like, and Yennefer here, like by the end of it, like she really is a 10 out of 10 written character, and I'm a huge fan now, and I just want more of her. Although I really enjoyed Ciri here and Geralt's storyline, I will say a little flaw I had. I was a little surprised we didn't see more action from Geralt's story in this episode. It didn't hurt the pacing, but I didn't feel like that was what we were set up for by the end of last episode. However, I loved his arc. I loved him finding Ciri. I didn't think we would get that this season when I first saw it. Like, there's a thought that it was almost an awkward embrace, but that was just because we know and we feel that they don't know each other. But like that, he hasn't even had this child surprise on his mind like a whole lot this series. Like, that's really what was slightly awkward about it. But protecting her, like, it was literally like not even a goal of the show for most of it. But with this moment, like, as the audience knowing what the queen's last words were and what their stories are, and the emotional nostalgia girl just went through recalling his own childhood, it actually didn't feel awkward to me. Like, it really did feel like the hug of safety and security, and that they both needed it. Like, they found that thing they were wandering for last episode. Like it was just such a great place to end season 1 on, and I'm so excited for season 2.
Yeah. What was your rating, by the way, Maria, for the episode?
Oh, I would say a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, for me, you know, I feel sorry to go against the consensus here, but you know, as I said before, I just wasn't really feeling this episode. It's primarily from a writing and dialogue standpoint. Too many times I was taken out of the episode with what felt like forced dialogue and exposition and out of character actions. The episode still had some parts that were really well done. I do believe that, but you know, I don't know. I feel like most of the episodes we've watched so far were much better at showing instead of telling, and using more natural conversations to bring up major points and feelings rather than straight up exposition. And it might be, as I said, a little unfair because they've done such a good job of avoiding that throughout this series.
Mhm.
The conversations have been extremely natural. The way they brought up plot points, very natural. Like, it's been expert writing, you know, so far this series. And I do not feel that it came even close to that mark in this episode. So as such, I'd give this episode only a 6 out of 10 or a C. Yeah. Yeah. So it might be harsh, but I have trouble justifying higher. That said, the series overall, I definitely give it at this point an 8, maybe an 8.5, something in that range. I'm excited about season 2. And yeah, it was just I wasn't feeling the writing in this one.
You know, that's because you looked at the ratings and you had high expectations.
See, yeah, exactly.
Maybe.
Never look at the ratings. Just listen to our show.
I still think I would have come up with it because, again, things to me, honestly, it felt a little forced. This episode, there were certain details that, again, I am not the expert and I'm not paid to do this at all. But I'm kept in a cage most of my life, really. But no, honestly, how I saw it, like, even where you had like the sleeper agents from the worms in terms of Sabrina and the kids,
Yeah.
I wouldn't have shown that at all. I wouldn't have done like the nod, wink, wink thing where you see them moving in slow motion. I just have them going through the regular paces. You don't even feel anything's up. You think Sabrina's like coming up to her to tell her something, then she gets mad.
Yeah.
You know, and then you see the children drop the things, and you're like, holy cow, what's going on here?
Right.
And then like, and you see the little worms coming out of the ears, and you're like, oh my gosh, you know.
Yeah, we didn't need 3 ways for them to tell us the same thing.
Right.
Yeah,
And you know, there were many times like throughout the episode where I get it, they're trying to say how bad Nilfgaard is, and they did it a few times in the episode before, but I do feel it would have been far better with like maybe showing like some of the issues there than just bringing it up repeatedly. And you know, I don't know how they handled the whole battle thing. Also, basically there were a lot of things this episode where I'm like, I don't really know. I did like the Geralt backstory though, that I was a fan of.
It's very good.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, just wasn't my cup of tea in terms of an episode, but that's why we have 3 people reviewing this, not just one. 2 of which we pay handsomely, and 1 of which we don't. So,
guess who?
yeah. So listen to the people you guys pay for.
Hey, we can all have our episodes where we're forgiving and we're not.
Mm-hmm. All right. So on that note, everybody's thumbs up for season 2.
Yeah.
Thumbs up, big thumbs up.
All right, cool. So everybody, thank you so much for joining us this evening and watching until the end. Thank you for joining us this whole entire season. 1 whole season of The Witcher down.
Yeah.
We really do appreciate all your support, and hopefully we brought you some intelligent conversation and laughs tonight. Maybe. And it's your support that makes this worth it. So if you like this show, please like, share, subscribe, and heart. That's one of our cool things right now. We appreciate it. Thank you. And if you hated the show, please make sure to like it twice, as we keep metrics on that, and that'll really show us. That says you need to do better. Liking us more tells us you need to do a better job. Our next episode will be on Tuesday, September 24th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So looking forward to seeing you then. And until next time, could you do it better? Toss a coin to your Witcher. All right, guys. Good night.